Welcome to my very first wrestling podcast. And today I'm going to be talking to you about why I love Lucha Underground. And be warned, there are spoilers in this, so wow. I don't even know where to begin with this. There's so many things that I want to say, and not a lot of time to say it. But I'm gonna start with some notes I wrote down. A little backstory was that I was surfing around watching Bankuro's matches, and I stumbled across one of his matches with Pentagon Jr., and it was really amazing, mind-blowing, and flat-out brutal, bloody, over-dramatic. It was crazy. But, wow. I'm at a loss of words. So, I guess I'm going to start with what I thought of season 1 so far. So, watching season 1 was very dramatic and a breath of fresh air, honestly, because a lot of wrestling nowadays has been dying. It's been losing its touch. There's no drama anymore. Well, not as much as there used to be. There's no epic promos anymore. There's no well thought out, well planned matches. And Lucha Underground brought all of that back and more. The main focus is centered on Lucha Libre rather than the typical American style wrestling and the stuff you normally see on WWE and other promotions. So I thought that was really unique. It was almost revolutionary. Actually, it was revolutionary. Even though they had a lot of wrestlers I didn't care about, I still had a huge passion and interest for a bunch of wrestlers like Bankuro, even though he only wrestled once, but on Lucha Underground so far, Mil Muertes, King Cuerno, and some others like maybe Prince Puma. I'm not really feeling him too much, but he's pretty good. And actually, he's amazing when he really puts on. When he really wants to, he'll put on over 5-star matches. And as far as kayfabe goes, I've been hearing a lot of talks about how kayfabe is dead and kayfabe is no longer as big as it used to be. But when I saw what Lucha Underground was doing, it was really creative, a really unique way of bringing kayfabe back to prominence. Because they could have made it into a typical wrestling promotion, but they decided to make it into a TV show, which is what wrestling should be. It should be a drama. It should be sports entertainment, not sport like any other. And it also made it easier to follow. And as far as the creativity goes, what I loved about it was the fact that the temple itself was small, but it was built in a way that the wrestlers could move around and use almost everything as a weapon. You can't really do that in WWE because it's one large stadium, like in Madison Square Garden. It's one large stadium, and all you have available is pretty much the ring and maybe the entrance. That's it. Lucha Underground, the temple, you have stairs, you have the fan seat, you have balconies, you have a whole variety of potentially deadly objects, and wow, I really loved how they brought the Mexican culture and ancient cultures, like the Aztec civilization, incorporated some of the elements and the history of Lucha Libre, stemming from the Aztecs, and using the masks and the spirit animals that are embodied in each of the luchadors' masks. I thought that was really unique, and oh my gosh, the storylines were just off the chain ridiculous, and what I really loved about the storylines was how they introduced the characters. They introduced them so well. Like, I can remember watching the vignettes and the promos and backstage interviews, and just seeing the wrestlers tell their own stories on how they came to Lucha Underground, and they made it look really, really realistic, and I loved how they maintained character throughout the whole season. And I've been watching oh my gosh, so many examples I could give you. Like, for example, when Prince Puma and Pentagon Jr. faced each other in one match in season 2, and Pentagon Jr. he put him in a submission hold, and Prince Puma somehow lifted his shoulders up when Pentagon Jr. was on the ground, and Pentagon Jr. got pinned, and that was really, really impressive. And the drama was just off the charts. Like when Pentagon Jr. he would before their match at Ultima Lucha, he would take a gasoline tank or something and just douse Vampiro in gasoline. And I legit thought he was gonna set him on fire, but that didn't happen. And another thing I loved about it was how there's no railings between the wrestlers and the fans. So I don't know how they managed to do that, but that was really really incredible. it's almost as if they're trying to break down the barriers between fans and wrestlers and have them get up close and personal, as opposed to in the past, the fans and the wrestlers were divided, and Lucha Underground bridged the gap between the fans and wrestlers and honestly, the fans of Lucha Underground are some of the best fans in pro wrestling, in my opinion, because every time I watch an episode, they're always passionate, they're always hyped up, they're always excited about it, and it shows, and almost to the point where they were given a chance to participate. If you remember the Believers Backlash match between Hernandez and Drago, that blew my mind. That blew my mind. Just, I didn't even think it was legal for them to do that, but it happened, and what a match. That was incredible. I mean, I don't know if they, if the fans were trained in or whatnot, but that right there was one fine example of creativity, because they could have done a lumberjack match, but instead they chose to do an event like this. Instead of having wrestlers, do the same old punch kick whenever a wrestler falls out of the ring, they decided to have all the fans take part in it, and that was wow, a special opportunity for them. And yeah, and as far as the hardcore wrestling that went on in Lucha Underground, oh my goodness, I was watching all of those matches. I was sweating up a storm watching them. I was going off. Just my breath was taken away, because just seeing simple, everyday, actually not, well, at first they went, soft with tables, chairs, the normal hardcore stuff at the beginning of the season one. They then gradually got more darker, got more violent, and they just got out of control. Especially the match between Phoenix and Mil Muertes at Great Consequences. That caused my heart to sink, because of how just how brutal and violent it was. Especially when Mil Muertes, he took the part of the ring post apart, and he ripped Phoenix mask up and cut him open, and then bit him and everything. That was just, he was straight up trying to kill him in that match, and bashing his head against the coffin. And I can't forget about the part when they make their way onto the balcony, and he almost tries to kill him, literally, but Phoenix makes a comeback, and barely though, and Mil Muertes, he loses, which was a real disappointment, but it was a good match nonetheless, mainly because of the storytelling and how it was about how. And I just love uh, the parallelism in that match, 1,000 deaths versus 1,000 lives, and how, especially the characters that they showed, because he claimed that he made himself out to be the bird of war who would stand up after he is fallen down to the ground. He always makes a comeback. He would always make a rebirth, and after the actual mythical being, the Phoenix, and Neil Muertes was trying to prevent himself from being just that lost little child abandoned and after his parents' death when he was a kid, you know, and just seeing the drama and the characters and the motive for why they were wrestling was what made the match actually hardcore. It wasn't the blood per se, although that was really awesome, really brutal and graphic. It was more of the actual storytelling they had in that match, and another one of my favorite matches was the one with Vampiro and Pentagon Jr. at Ultimate Lucha, and that match was, oh my gosh, I can't even, it was beyond words, because I would never think that such a violent match, almost a death match, actually it was a death match, to be airing on TV. I would never have in a million years expected that. Maybe in AAA or Big Japan Wrestling or some other indie promotion, but on Lucha Underground, that's unbelievable. And just seeing, and I like the build up to it, when especially the character development, where Pentagon Jr. he was talking about making a sacrifice and basically hating and taunting Vampiro because he stole what was supposed to be rightfully his. And Vampiro, on the other hand, we could totally see him go through transformations and whatnot, becoming more darker as opposed to the previous episodes in the season where he was, a bit lighter, more down to earth, friendly, and whatnot. But they really made me believe that he was actually going through some internal problems with himself. And until finally that precise moment of that segment between them, right before Ultimate Lucha, when he said Pentagon Jr. asked him if he'll be facing Ian or Vampiro, and he says, and then he responds with that epic answer, "You'll be facing Vampiro," and he does his move on him and knocks him out, and the whole place goes wild, and man, that got me hyped. And also, seeing them go at it, and in the actual event with the thumbtacks and fluorescent light tubes, and then Pentagon Jr. licks the blood off the broken glass. Oh my gosh. And then the chair shots and him choking him out. I legit thought that when the officials, he did the X sign, I thought that Vampiro was done for. I thought I legit believed that he was going to be taken out in a stretcher and, just be done completely, but he just started beating up the medics and saying, no, it's not over yet. And then he makes his way back to the ring. It was just mind-blowing. And then things took a really violent turn when leading up to the part when Vampiro gets legit body slammed or whatever into a flaming table. He legit got caught on fire. And that just blew my mind away. That I lost it at that point because that was not, you could tell it wasn't scripted because the guy with the fire extinguisher put the fire out. So wow. So and he was rolling on the ground and put it out too. So wow. So that was a whole new level of hardcore. And then they had the prize ending where Pentagon Jr. revealed that his true master was Vampiro himself. So that had when I was watching that, my jaw dropped. I was hollering at the computer not the TV screen and whatnot. And I was on the edge of my seat during that match, but it got really interesting in season 2 when a lot of things have changed. And also another match that had me off the chain was Prince Puma and Mil Marquez for the Lucha Underground Championship at Ultima Lucha. That was epic because again, mainly because of the drama and the character development that Prince Puma underwent. No longer, throughout the whole season, he's been with Conan, relying on Conan, his manager, to make his decisions, give him guidance, and doing whatever he basically deciding his own future and career for him. And right before Ultima Lucha, Prince Puma puts his foot down and says, "No, you're not gonna rule my life. I'm gonna be my own man. I'm gonna be independent." And that's exactly what he did. And at Ultima Lucha, that's why you didn't see Conan there. He just relies on his own intuition, his own frame of mind, his own skills. He has confidence in himself. He finally begins to build self-trust and just discard everything, every doubt and whatever that's been holding him back. And so when he finally faces Mil Marquez, which is probably one of his biggest challenges, actually the biggest challenge of his entire career at Lucha Underground, that was amazing, especially the build-up to it, because if you notice how Mil Marquez tries to, he interrupted Prince Puma, who was planning to speak for the very first time one night, and he took out both Prince Puma and Conan put him in a coffin, and that was it. And I think that was just a great example of how Conan just provided an obstacle for consumer. And when I saw the next episode or the episode after that, when Puma got rid of Conan and he beat the Disciples of Death, he was ruthless. That right there was an example of him becoming his own man, his own luchador. And the look on Mil Muerto's face was just intense. Got me hyped up for the actual match itself. And when I actually saw them wrestle in that match, I was, you don't even know how I was reacting. I was just, by the time it was done, I was already spent. But, I'm really glad of the outcome simply because I don't know where to shit. But, yeah, other than that, I've loved Lucha Underground for a very long time. And as far as season 2 goes, another example of Lucha Underground's creativity, because Dario Cueto, he left, and nowhere to be seen. And the only person ruling Lucha Underground is none other than Mil Muertes. And it makes sense because he's the champion. Why wouldn't he rule Lucha Underground? Also, another thing I love about it is how they make him seem to be some kind of mystical being, similar to the Undertaker. Same thing with Casino. Like, I was watching some of the segments and whatnot, especially that fight you had with Pentagon Jr., where he puts her in a submission hold, and she disappears and reappears somewhere else. And so that made me think about whether or not she was a legit human or a ghost or something. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all that I've seen from so far. Those are all my thoughts from Lucha Underground. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.